I think we can kind of get started here. For everybody that kind of files in afterwards, we'll handle them. So first of all, welcome to everybody joining us. Welcome to a Sessionwire studio. We're absolutely thrilled to host this first event with ILIO featuring audio modeling. So we've got people from all over the world in here right now. I myself am located in Canada. Jon, you have to remind me, Jon.
I'm in LA. I'm in LA, yeah.
Yeah, LA area, yeah. And Simone and Lele in Italy.
Yeah. Two different cities.
Yes. Yep. And we are all here to discuss audio modeling technology. I'm really excited for this. Again, if you're just joining, hit Studio Chat, ask questions while we're going through things. If the question is, pertinent to the discussion and it makes sense to bring it up, I'll do my best to do so. So far, the chat is flying by at an incredible rate, so I'm going to try and pull things from there. But I want to introduce Jon Gilutin. Jon's been a Sessionwire connection of ours for a long time. He's been an audio modeling artist for a long time as well. And I'm just going to hand it straight over to you, Jon. You're going to basically play a piece for us at the moment, and we're going to check out some instruments, and Jon's going to go through and solo some things, and we're going to watch it. So, Jon, if you wouldn't mind sharing your screen.
Awesome.
We'll
just
take it away.
Say hello first.
Yeah, take it away.
So, hi, everybody. Man, this is just amazing. I had no idea there were going to be people represented from so many countries around the world. It's just fantastic. I'm really excited to be doing this. I've been a big fan of audio modeling for about 5+ years now, and it's really kind of changed the way I do my work. So for me to be able to share about it with you and play some music that I've done and show you some live instruments, it's exciting for me. So I'm really grateful to be doing this, and I'm so glad you guys are here. I'm going to be sharing my screen now, and we're going to play first. We're going to play. You'll probably recognize this. This is the old Rod Stewart hit, "Have I Told You Lately That I Love You?" And I'm just going to play it down now in its entirety. And then I'm going to tell you a little story about how it came about, and we'll show you some more about the instruments. So here we go.
that was amazing. We have all kinds of questions.
All right. Well, let me talk about how it all came about first, and then we'll get to some questions. So a good friend of mine and of audio modeling is a great arranger, composer, producer named Bruce Miller, and I think he's on with us today. So, hey, Bruce, welcome. So he's always doing mock-ups of pieces he's writing or pieces he's written in the past to show the beauty and the amazing quality of SWAM instruments. So I was like, Bruce, if you're going to do all this stuff, maybe you should try doing a recreation of one of your famous arrangements. And so Bruce actually did the string arrangement on this record. So he said, okay, that sounds like a great idea. So he had the score in his house. He played in part after part of the original arrangement, and he sent me the string part. And I said, great, this is fantastic. And I did everything else. So I did the whole rest of the band, the drums, the bass, the keyboards. And then Bruce's son, Jason, came in and did some guitars for us and played that great solo. And then, we listened to this thing. Oh, and another part of it is through the beauty of AI and Logic, I was able to import the original record and stem split it so I could take Rod's vocal off, and I could do the whole arrangement with Rod's vocal. So now you hear this version, which, some people would probably be able to tell the difference between this and the original, but it's pretty imperceptible in a lot of ways. And it's the beauty of SWAM instruments that makes this all possible. So what he does and what I do and what a lot of other people do is we'll play the part in each part separately, getting its own expressive quality. A lot of the time we use breath controllers to actually help us get more expression. And so that if you do that part after part and player after player, you're really building a performance from modeled instruments that really wouldn't be possible otherwise. It's certainly not possible with samples. So what we're talking about with SWAM is these are modeled instruments, and Lele and Simone are going to talk to us in a little bit about modeling and the origins of how it all came to be. But it's such a different experience that we can all have with these modeled instruments than the previously used sampled libraries. I mean, I'll be talking about this all along, but for me, it's like we can all buy the same sample library made by whoever, fill in the blank, all the names. And me and you and everybody else is pretty much going to sound the same with those libraries, because they're snapshots, they're recordings of every kind of inflection and sound that those instruments produce. So it's going to be a huge similarity between players. But when we talk about these modeled instruments and the ability for us to be expressive, we can all create our own performances with these instruments that sound greatly different than samples have sounded all these years. So that's why I am so excited to have these instruments in my arsenal. And to be honest, I'm not just saying this, I use them every day. It's a fact. I mean, they've completely changed the way I do my work. So I think we were talking about going in and maybe looking under the hood of this arrangement and maybe just checking out the strings by themselves, and I can solo a few things.
Yeah.
So I'm going to share my screen again.
Yeah, and if you want to, mute your microphone and play the piece and solo things as you go, we can afterwards.
Maybe I'll turn my monitors down because it's going to be hard. I'd like to talk about some stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
So you let me know if it's not working.
Sure. And for everybody watching, you can also control the individual levels of our voices in HQ Audio in the mixer. So check it out.
So I'm just going to solo the SWAM strings right now in a section where they're all playing. Pardon me, I'm kind of coming in the middle, but you'll understand. So you saw the violin section. And we can change the violin section. They have great presets for us if we want to change the overall sound or configuration of the section. You can't talk. So these are this is the violin section, and then Willow cello, of course. So I can solo the cello, and you can hear it by itself. So now here we have the cello section. And we can do the same thing with the section. We can change it to a symphonic section. And the subtles, the changes might be subtle, you know, but they're definitely perceptible. And so you can really tailor it to the kind of music that you're doing, whether it's pop music or classical music, symphonic, chamber music. Anything else you'd like me to show?
No, I think that there are just a couple questions about whether or not you're performing the vibrato while you're, you know, recording the part itself.
Yes. So I'm going to unshare my screen. So
Sure.
Absolutely. So there's a number of ways to do that. Yes, we are adding vibrato to these performances, which really gives it a much more human feel. And so you can use traditionally, you can use an expression pedal and the modulation wheel on your controller, which a lot of people do ordinarily. That's a very common way to program. Or I also use a breath controller, which I will be showing you more of a little bit later. So I can get expression by using my breath, and I can get vibrato by biting down on this bite plate on the breath controller. So it just gives me a world of possibilities of things, different things I can do performance-wise that just make it more and more real, more and more human. So, you know, if you put in each part one by one and you're playing it down, and the vibrato is going to be slightly different, just as it would be if you had a 50-piece string section in front of you at a studio. They're all different people. They're all going to be performing it slightly different. That's what gives you the live organic sound of an orchestra. So we can really get closer to that with these instruments. And I think it might be time to hear more about these instruments themselves and about modeling and the origins of the SWAM library.
Yeah, just before we jump into that, a couple of related questions to what you were just playing. Let me pick one here. Craig was asking if you use MPE.
You can. It's a good way to go. Initially, when I first learned about SWAM, it was through the Roly keyboard, which is an MPE keyboard, and I think some of the SWAM strings either came with it or you could buy them additionally back then. And I was just so excited by the sound of those strings that I went deeper and started, you know, buying more of them. But yes, so there are a number of keyboards on the market that use MPE. Roly is one of them. The Osmos is another one. There's a few of them out there. You have to you'll have to put some time in to sort of work through how that translates for you with these instruments, you know, the pressure and what's giving what command. But yes, they are MPE ready. So that is a great possibility for programming.
Yeah, and there are lots of questions about controlling different parameters and how you're doing that. I think we're going to save that for the actual. John's actually going to play for us in a few minutes. So just everybody hang tight. And there was a question about the breath controller, and Simone answered that in the chat, which we'll also get to in that portion. But yes, we're going to hand it off to Lele and Simone, the brains behind audio modeling and the technology. So Lele and Simone, please show us.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Lele, and I'm the CTO of the company, also the co-founder of the company. So I'm going to share my screen to show a very brief presentation about physical modeling. I'm not going to hold a lecture on physical modeling, just a few concepts about that. So let's start from the question, what is a musical instrument? A musical instrument is an acoustic instrument, is basically a mechanical system that produces vibration in response to specific excitations. So we usually see an instrument composed by three main elements. So the exciter is the part that initiates the vibration. The resonator is the element that shapes and amplifies the vibration. And the radiator is the element that projects the sounds into the air. So let's see some examples. If we think about the trumpet, the exciter are the lips that produce the buzz, the initial buzz. The resonator is the tube of the trumpet, and the radiator is the bell, basically. In a violin, the exciter is the friction between the bow and the strings, and the resonator is the string itself, and the radiator is the body, basically. Usually, we can find similarities in other instruments. Now, let's think about what is sound. The sound is a variation in the air pressure within the audible range for human hearing, so usually between 20 hertz and 20 kilohertz. It is a physical phenomenon that is transmitted as waves through the air, and it is detected by our ears and perceived by our brain as pitch, loudness, and timbre. So what is physical modeling? Physical modeling is the technique of simulating a mechanical system through math, basically. So through the physical laws and described by math equations. Musical instruments, being a mechanical system, are modeled using the mechanical laws. So the physical laws that are behind the mechanics of mechanical, let's say, systems. So they are described via using differential equation. So I don't know how many of you know about the differential equation, but anyway, it's a mathematical description for the main physical quantities. So speed, displacement, pressure, and the key outcome is exactly the air pressure variation, because it's the sound we have said so far. So the sound that we hear. For I written here an example of modeling the embouchure of a reed instrument. There are, but basically there is a differential equation that describes a mass spring model. So we can see the reed as a spring with a mass, let's say. And we apply also the Bernoulli law to the airflow. So using some math, we can compute the right behavior of this element. So how do we create a virtual instrument using this technique? So we model the elements of the instruments using the differential equation, as I said. So the main model that makes the whole instrument. We discretize these equations of each element because we need to put it into a software. So we need a digital equation, not a continuous equation. We implement the software connecting such elements to form a complete model. So, of course, we need to know how to connect them and what are the relations between them. And at the end, we optimize for real performance. So I put here just a couple of lines of code that we use in our code, and that they describe basically a wave propagating through what we call delay line. So This is taken from the violin, so it's the violin. We can model the string as waves propagating through the strings. Here is the schema. Is of course the real one is more complex, but I try to put the main elements. So back to the first slide, we have the three main elements. So the bow string friction is the exciter in this block in red, let's say, and it takes the bow force, the bow speed, and the string velocity to generate a signal that runs through the string, which is the resonator, that is represented by delay lines that are the wave propagation, and some filter that disperse the energy, let's say. And the outcome is through the body, that is the radiator, that has been, how to say, the main purpose of the body is to provide the frequency, the spectrum, and the phase fingerprint of the instrument, let's say. Let me say just a few words about comparing physical modeling versus sampling. So first, we have the expressiveness. So with physical modeling, we can freely shape and combine multiple articulation rather than make a collage of pre-recorded ones, pre-recorded articulation. We have a great flexibility, so we don't need large sample libraries. Take into account that a violin model takes just like 10 megabytes on your computer. So when you install our instruments, maybe you install 100 megabytes, but because we need graphics, we need to have different formats, VST3, audio unit, AAX, so they take some space. But the core of the instrument is just 10 megabytes. And finally, realism. So we emulate the physics of the sound generation, and so we have the consistent behavior of the system, of the instruments, and not a Frankenstein, let's say, of articulation that are glued together. Okay, this is my introduction to the world of physical modeling. I'm sorry if it's too nerdy, but maybe I hope you appreciate that.
We just there was just, you know, somebody in the chat said they didn't think that there was going to be any math in the presentation, and they were told there was going to be no math. But it's absolutely fascinating, and particularly the diagram that showed. Yeah, the schema it makes perfect sense when you look at it, as you know, as far as the model of an instrument works. Okay, so Scott has an excellent question about modeling the environment. So we are going to dig into that in a minute. I think at this point we're going to pass it to Simone, if I remember correctly, and Simone is going to kind of show us some of the UX and GUI design, and we'll also get him to show a little bit about Ambiente, which is absolutely fascinating as well. So Simone.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Simone Capitani. I am a partner at Audio Modeling. I am in charge of managing the user experience of our products. Just a little before taking a look to the UI, that usually is the perception of a product, of instruments that we usually build. I would like to point out that the most important idea that that influences the user experience of SWAM instruments is that we are building the condition to create a sound. So what Lele exposed as the physical model is that basically you are able to play like synth, not a sample playback. So basically, you start the journey interacting with an instrument. The moment you hit the try button on our on our software center, you start interacting with the instruments, because it's like buying a violin and then exploring how you can generate a sound from a violin. So you start playing, then you listen the results, and then you automatically adjust the way you play, trying to create the sound and the musical idea that you have in mind. This is the first time that you do that with an instrument that is not a sampler. So this is the most important thing you have to keep in mind. And at the beginning, also myself, I did not get entirely this until I started to play myself. You start, it's addictive, I can tell you. You start listening videos on YouTube of a musician playing, and then you start to compare two musicians, the same piece. You can start playing with the trying to emulate the way of one musician play or another, and then you start to build your own style. And the magic of this experience, this journey, is that the way I'm gonna play will be different from Lele, from Jon, and this is extremely exciting in my opinion. Even if it is not the short way, it's not fast as triggering one sample, but it's extremely rewarding. So I would like to start with that. Maybe if you want, Brendan, I can show the UI, but also I can maybe answer later. Tell me, you are keeping the time and of this live session, so tell me what I should do.
Yeah, I think if you want to share your screen and show an instrument and kind of demo a little bit some of the expression, some of the expressive possibilities, but also show the Ambiente GUI as well, and how that I think for a lot of people listening in their studios, how that translates, when you actually move an instrument in a space.
Absolutely.
It's quite scary, to be frank. It sounds really realistic.
Okay, can you see my screen? I have done that well.
Yes, it looks like we can see your screen. Yep.
So this is a simple project. I haven't done anything, but just I have a couple of instruments loaded, and the UI of the instruments is very similar across different products, because we wanted to make that very consistent, and across also different device and the operating system. So the way you see the SWAM instruments here is very consistent, and in some cases is the same that you see also on iOS and also on iPhone. We built the interface to with the size and proportion in order to be used by also touch screen interfaces. So as Jon said, you have let's say those arrows that in the string section changes the number of players, but in other cases are changing the mutes for the brass, or are changing the instrument body for the string solo strings. What I would like to see that you have access directly to a short selection of the most important parameters, and I can relate it to a question that was asked. What are the parameters that are controlled in real time? So basically, you can start, of course, with the expression that is the main the main parameter that changes the evolution, but on each instrument there are subtle nuances that can really make the difference. For example, in the violin section or in the solo strings, the bow pressure as well as the bow position are changing. Also, the timbre, the way sounds is created, that is extremely related to the real what the real players do. So in this case, I have connected to only one knob different parameters. I made a macro, but is not mandatory. So just for the purpose of showing you the control of multiple parameters at the same time. If you are working on a DAW, you can edit later the parameters, so you will be more accurate, and you don't have to force to control at the same time more parameters. But in this case, I can show you an example. So in this case, I have also used the bow pressure and the bow position to make more dynamic and changing a little bit the timbre when I play soft. So I am playing closer to the keyboard, and when I want to play stronger with a more dynamic, I raise the expression, but also the bow pressure, and the bow position goes close to the bridge. This is an example. I'm not a virtuoso player, as you can see, but with one note you can change the you can see immediately the difference of playing with from a sample library. Another important thing that we were talking is the modeling of the environment. And here's the question of Ambiente. Ambiente is the room simulator that we have created at the beginning to build the sound of the section, because a string section cannot exist without a room. So it's true that there are subtle differences of performance of the different players, but we can really say that the magic is hidden in the room, because the different position of each player are reflecting in the room in different ways, and are reaching the our ears with the delays, and the sound becomes rich and becomes specific of a string section. So this is the most important thing. Then after the release of the string section, we wanted to provide the same room simulator also for solo instruments. And then also we extended the instruments, the Ambiente, also for any source that you can load as an insert effects in your DAW. So basically here in the interface of Ambiente, I am able to move around the room the violins. I can, let's say, I can go there. I can go closer, and then I can also change the different looms. So let's say, let me go on a large hole. I can change the mic position, so I can go closer.
So,
I can go far.
Simone, there's a little bit of discussion in the chat about what makes Ambiente different from other reverbs, like the ones that are just built into Logic.
The biggest difference, maybe Lele can explain better than me, but the biggest difference is that is not a reverb, so is a room simulator. So now when I play a note, the Ambiente is calculating the reflection in the walls and bringing them to us. Is not a convolution reverb, because otherwise it would not be possible to move continuously around here. So the position changes the results, and that is possible only simulating and calculating very well the reflections in the room. So this is the biggest difference. Maybe Lele can give a technical explanation.
Also, a room is a mechanical system, so we can study it using physical laws and mathematical math equation, differential equations. So we study the propagation of the waves in a room, and the reflection, the absorption by the wall, and the time difference between let's say our ears, but also if you have a pair of microphones, it's the same. So we study all these nuances that in the real life happen. So just try to remodel that.
Exactly. And this is another thing that changes a lot the experience. What Lele said, that we are calculating that from real objects and real thing. And the way you create the sound is the way you would do in the real world. So you are not tweaking the delay time or reverb. You are not tweaking parameters. You are just choosing the materials. So now you can choose material with high absorption, medium absorption. So here we have examples. High absorption, we have simulated wood and acoustical tiles, as well in medium, just woods. Then low is like concrete, something that is more very reflective. And then the size of the room, and you can see here the size of the room. And by the way, we can change also the units from imperial to international. And this is the real the cool thing, because when you have an orchestra, you place the instruments and the players in the right position in order to have the sound that you want, and you have to do exactly the same thing. So for let's say for convenience, we have made some presets, but it's just a combination of selecting materials and positions, and that's it. So then we have a couple of very interesting things. So we have a technical view, so that is more accurate in position and proportions. So you can see here that you can see the size of the room. You can place the instruments not exactly on the walls, but you have to keep them a little bit far from the walls. You can move the mic here as well in another way, but as you can see, you are working like in the real world, and that changes the perspective. Going very, very quickly, we have provided different studio rooms. So you will be able in the same session to have different studios. For example, if you want to have your strings in one studio and your solo instruments in another, with a different environment is possible. And if you want to reduce the effect of the room, we have also a close mic settings that reduces the effect of the room, not entirely, because as we said, the section cannot live outside a room, but they are very, very close in order for you to use other effects, or if you want to use other reverb, but also if you are using other products as other room simulator or spatializer. Is not recommended because we think that Ambiente is has a big value and is very consistent, because now, as you can see in my in this project, I have the string section working with the SWAM saxophone. Even if they are on 2 tracks, those instruments are communicating each other. And when I move the violin, that changes in the GUI of the other plugin, and that makes extremely convenient, because you are working as it is one UI, but they are individually replicated and communicating each other. The same thing is for the tracks that I have added as an insert effects Ambiente. And here I can, let's say if I have vocals, or if I have a piano or other plugins that are not covered by our catalog, you can bring them in the same room and create your mix here.
Oh, my goodness. Well, that changes everything. Just really quickly, we got a couple of people asking if this is compatible with Dolby Atmos, and I think they mean, is there a multi-channel version of Ambiente that's not just stereo?
Yeah, maybe Lele can answer. I have the short answer, but Lele can explain it better than me.
So why is just stereo and not multi-channel yet? Right. So we decided to start with the ready-to-use solution. We have done some research on how to make it multi-channel and like Atmos or other multi-channel formats, and binaural as well. But we need more let's say, research for that, because we want to model everything. I mean, it's not just applying a convolution response to transform a source in a virtual 3D space. We want to replicate the physics.
Amazing. Okay. It's becoming unbelievably apparent we're going to have like a dedicated technical live event with audio modeling where we get into all the math and everything, because it is really just unbelievable. Particularly Ambiente, modeling a room with the dampening factors and everything, and just, it's a real live calculation of a room. It's really cool. I think, though, we're coming to the top of the hour. We've got about 35 minutes before we're going to try and wrap things up. And not to cut Lele and Simone off.
No, I'm done.
It's good. It's good to keep.
We could talk about it forever. We've got a couple of questions regarding GPU usage. We're going to save that too for the Q&A section. So there's a few people asking about that. We'll get into that in a moment. But I really want to jump back to Jon, because he's going to actually play SWAM live with a breath controller for us, and we're going to check that out. So Jon.
Yeah, it's I've been looking at the chat, and there are some amazing questions, and I hope we can get to be answering as many of them as possible. But yeah, I think there's going to need to be a part 2, maybe more of a technical hang. But yeah, so I'd like to show a little example of playing live with these instruments. And I've actually played live on stage with these instruments, and the response and reaction and my enjoyment level is just so high around these instruments. It's such an interesting experience. People just are not used to hearing what they're hearing, and they see me on stage with a breath controller and like, what's going on, you know? But it's been incredibly fun for me. So this piece I want to play now is actually the singer has joined us today online. Her name is Erica Lazari. Her stage name right now is Dea Lazari, and this is a song called Estate, which was written in 1960 by an Italian composer, coincidentally. And it's going to be released at the end of this month as a single, I think on May 30th. So I am going to share my screen now. And I am going to... So I'm going to be playing soprano sax, which is one of my absolute favorite instruments in the bundle.
Profumo ad ogni fiore, l'estate che ha creato il nostro amore, per farmi poi morire di
Yeah, it's a different experience. So what I've learned over these 5 years now is SWAM gives us the ability as keyboard players to develop a voice as an artist on an instrument that we never learned how to play. So, I mean, I've always loved soprano sax, from John Coltrane to Wayne Shorter to Tom Scott, who I think has joined us today. I was actually interviewing him maybe a year ago, and he hadn't checked out the soprano sax yet. So I said, hey, Tom, check out the soprano. And he started playing it with his wind controller. He's like, oh, yeah, I'll be using this. So, even with the players who have been, world renowned on those instruments, when they hear the SWAM recreation of those instruments, it's even stunning and fascinating to them. So I'm just so happy to have these tools in my arsenal. Since we have so many questions to get to, and we're starting to get on, I'm just wondering, should I play through a couple of other instruments possibly now? What would we like to do?
Yeah, I think we'd kind of had planned for you to play Prelude and Fugue. So
I think that might be. I think I might save that, and I think because we've gotten a little deep into the tech talk and everything, and there's a lot of people who have some really wonderful questions that I would like them to get answers to. So maybe I think I will just show a couple of the instruments.
Yeah, I think that's great.
And I think that might be a valuable use of our time.
Yeah, and for everybody watching, John's just going to leave his mic open, and because it's a condenser mic and it's a little bit far away, we're going to hear a little bit of the keyboard noise, but that's fine. It just kind of shows you that he's actually playing it live, so there's no.
Yeah, you can also mute on your mixer if you want. So.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, anybody watching, you can actually mute John yourself. You can mute his microphone.
So here, we have the. Can everybody hear me? Yes.
Yes.
So here we have the solo violin, and I should probably get up the GUI. And you can see that a lot of them look, they really tried to uniformly make the GUI the same across the across the library, because I think it's much easier for the user. But so here is the violin. So, a huge amount of realism. I'm not using the breath controller on these. I do a lot of the time when I'm programming, but I also like to, philosophically, I kind of like to use the breath controller on instruments that are breath related, like the woodwinds and the brass and the saxes and the strings. I normally use my expression pedal and my modulation wheel, which, you guys can do it any way you want, whatever works the best for you. You find the flow that works the best for you. We move on to the cello, another pretty amazing instrument. So we can, we can change the model. You can hear the timbre changing, but they've also designed a lot of nice presets for us that cover a wide spectrum of styles of music, which is really helpful for us when we're working. Sometimes you're working on something and you just don't have a lot of time. You just do it and get it done. So when all this stuff is sort of figured out beforehand for us and designed for use, for speed of use. One of the questions I wanted to talk about that I saw in the chat was, assigning all those different functions to different faders or sliders or knobs. You can basically assign everything to a CC number and control it. But I find myself, and we're all different, when I'm performing something and trying to get a part on a song, I like to try to do as little as possible with my hands, except for playing, and I'll use the breath controller so I can get expression and I can get vibrato. And then if I want to go in later, I can always go in and adapt. I can change the bow pressure. I can change, I have the alto flute up now. You can put flutter in. You can put growl in. It's kind of crazy. There's so many possibilities. You can really customize it to pretty much anything that you're, wanting to hear. Your orchestral dreams can come true.
So somebody asked about changing tuning of instruments too. Do you ever?
Yes. So if you go into the flute, nope, I'm not looking in the right place. Yeah, there's micro tunings available, and there's different presets. Lele, where are those presets? I don't remember. Can somebody over there tell me? There are in the flute and the alto flute, there are micro tuning and different scale.
Yeah,
here they are.
Yeah.
So you have all these different ethnic possibilities that they've modeled that gets you pretty close to those instruments themselves. It's never going to be perfect, and hopefully in our lives we have the time and the budget to be able to get a real player of that ilk to come in and play on our project. That would be the optimal. But in the meanwhile, as producers and arrangers, we're trying to mock things up as close to what we think the end product is going to be. And these instruments enable us to get there, you know, and sometimes there isn't the budget. So we'll work even harder on the programming and get it close enough so we really don't feel like we need to replace it. So we go down here, you know, just maybe do this one. And this is the Flugelhorn, another one of my favorites. So I get the vibrato with my breath controller by using the bite plate. And so you can either use the classic vibrato, which is something I lean towards. I like the mellower vibratos, or you can go for a shake, which is great for those big band arrangements that you're doing. Or if you're in a Maynard Ferguson cover band, that could be the setting for you.
We were talking about Chuck Mangione earlier.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I just produced a track and had the guitar player who played "Feels So Good" play on the track. Speaking of Chuck Mangione, so yeah, there's just so many more instruments. I think we could show more, but I think it might be the best use of our time to get deeper into the questions that have been asked, and I can even show some things with the instrument if I need to with a question. But I think there are some really savvy people that have checked in here, and they have some great questions that I think we could maybe answer for them.
Yes, absolutely. And Lele and Simone are both in the chat as well. And Lele's been kind of answering questions, and so has Simone. Simone's name in the chat is Captain MIDI. For great reasons. So just a question directed to Jon that came up is, why do you not use MPE like controllers when they're available to you? Why do you prefer doing things the way that you do?
That's a good question, and I think the short answer is I'm old school. I have to use both words. I mean, I'm old, but I'm old school. So I started out as a piano player, and that's what I did. And then I got into electronic keyboards and synthesizers and everything else. And although I think the Rolly is a really cool thing, and I really loved messing around with it, I still have. I bought the small one that came out. I think there's just so many quarters needed to put in the machine to spend the time to master the touch, and the look of that keyboard is so much different than a regular keyboard that I think it wasn't an investment in time that I wanted to make. I'm not saying that down the line that won't be the case. I've been looking into more different MPE controllers, and there are some great ones out there, and they keep getting better every day. So, if anybody wants to send one over for me to check out, I'd be glad to do that. But
may I say something on this topic?
Yeah.
So let me say that we have designed our instruments to be played by a regular keyboard or regular controller. So a regular keyboard is not performing worse than an MEP controller, because we have well designed our instrument to be used by regular keyboards and other controllers. So MP is a great tool for polyphonic expression. We know all the stuff, but it doesn't mean that is perfect for SWAM or for acoustic instrument in general, because there are some articulations, some gesture that cannot be done with an MP controller. For example, if we map the expression to the pressure always starts from zero when you hit a key, but this is not the case in the real life. So I can have a bow that has a high velocity, high speed before touching the string. So when I touch the string, the expression is already high, let's say. So also the fingering in acoustic instrument is often separated from the expression. So with the left hand, I touch the string for the pitch, and with the right hand, I move the bow for the expression. So MP is a great tool, but not necessarily perfect for SWAM. So I can reassure that you can get very high realism with a regular keyboard, with maybe a breath controller or a pedal or a mod wheel or some other controller.
Yeah, also I can tell that you have to develop your own style, also depending on the instruments that you are trying to emulate. As Lele said, if you can play a saxophone pressing the keys and not emitting the sounds because you are not moving the expression, and that is possible also only if the keyboard that you are pressing is separated from the expression. Is not the velocity triggering the emission, but is the expression. So this is the thing that you have to change when you perform. And sometimes in the MPE you are collapsing two gesture in one. So that is not.
That's a great. I kind of want to address this other question. So, are you complete with that, Simone?
Yeah, sure, please.
Cool. So Nick Smith asks a question near and dear to my heart, and I think it might be the same Nick Smith. But any possibility SWAM horns without divisimate be made to play polyphonic? So, for as long as I've known the people at Audio Modeling, I've talked about this subject, and it's important for a lot of us to be able to play with polyphony, and I understand that because my workflow is that way, and I can tell you about my workflow, which I was going to do. So it doesn't happen all the time, but if I'm going to, maybe I have a song that I'm working on, and I'm going to do a string arrangement, so I will probably choose a polyphonic string sound that I favor here and there, and I will go through from top to bottom. Sometimes it's one pass, sometimes I tweak it a bunch, but I'll write the string arrangement on a polyphonic string sound, and then I will duplicate all those tracks for however many tracks I want to add to, and I will, let's say I will only take out everything. I'll take out everything but the violin line on this next pass down, and then I will put in the SWAM violins. And then on the next one down, I will take out everything but the cello section, and then I will put the cello in. And then I will add a solo violin to the violin section, because I normally do that. For me, it really gives you even more realism. Like, you have the concert master also in the section, and you can really hear that definition. So that's the way I work. Yeah, we're not going to talk about divisimate today. I know I saw a lot of people mentioning it. It's a great program, and I think that Peter and those guys do an amazing job, and we can maybe talk about that on another time. But for talking about a SWAM, they are designed specifically to be single voice monophonic instruments. And one of the reasons I'll talk about in the non-technical way of it is that the designers of this program want there to be as much realism as possible. And if you play something polyphonically, like a 4-voice string quartet voicing, it's only using the same performance, the same expression information, the same vibrato information. It's uniformly the same thing, which is not the intention of their mission. Their mission is to provide as much realism as possible. So playing them in one at a time is the way you're going to get the best performance. So but it has to work in your workflow. So for my workflow, I'll scream through and do a pass on a polyphonic section, and then I'll go through and add all the SWAM instruments, and that will be the bulk of the sound of my section, is the SWAM instruments. But that's the way I have to go about it. I can't say in the future whether there'll be polyphony. I think because of the way they've designed these and what they're going after, it's a little counterproductive and counterintuitive. But I do appreciate the question. And I hope I answered it for you.
That's amazing. Yes, for anybody asking about Divisimate, very likely there's going to be one of these kind of special events in the future about that. I'm not going to say 100% for sure, but let ILIO know. Send them an email. Hassle them. We'll make it happen. A question that came up earlier had to do, there's a few questions about utilizing GPU processing for the instruments. Is that necessary? Is it possible? And why have you chosen not to go that route, I suppose, yet?
Yeah. So GPU has a lot of power horse, but it's optimized for multiple repetitive operations. Physical models rarely have such characteristics. So, for example, GPU is suited for convolution algorithm. So if you have some convolution reverb that has a very long tail, that's an operation that a repetitive operation that can be parallelized on a GPU. But a physical model is often made by several small pieces interconnected. They do different operations, so it's hard to parallelize and to put it into the GPU. Anyway, we are working with GPU audio on that. So we are making a lot of research and development with them. I cannot say yet if or when we will come out with something that will be GPU audio powered, but we are working on that. So stay tuned.
Yes, I love it.
I also wanted to add something. I don't know why I was just thinking about it, but Simone touched on it earlier. So Ambiente is now a standalone plugin, and it was like a year ago, and I said, God, you know what would be cool? And they were like, yeah, it's coming. We were already working on it. So, you're working on a full session, and you have instruments that we're using, like all of us do in real life. We use other instruments from other companies as well. So sorry, that's what happens. And so with Ambiente being a standalone plugin, if we want to, we could put all those instruments in the same room and they can react with each other. That's big time. I mean, that's something that we've never had the ability to do before. So, it's just crazy what these guys are thinking about. And I can only imagine what the future is going to look like. But Ambiente was a game changer. I mean, it was great that they added it to the string section and the cello section and violas and all the string sections. It was great, but it was like, okay, so what about everything else? And then it just happened. It's just a matter of time. They have these amazing ideas, but they can't work 24 hours a day. I don't know why, but they just can't.
We are lazy,
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Of it, not by the looks of it.
Say Italians are always on vacation.
Yeah, coffees and wine and lunch breaks and
I just want. Sorry if I interrupt. I just want to ask Jon if he can show. Maybe the question came quickly. How to manage to deal the portamento times, because it's very important. We didn't explain that. So here we can show the difference between in the role of velocity versus expression. So when you are playing legato and you connect the notes, the velocity of the landing notes detects the portamento speed. So if I play Let me go with the.
That's what. Oh, yeah. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. So it's
Okay.
velocity. It's velocity sensitive.
Yeah,
So I think
exactly.
I showed that with the violin. So if
Mhm.
you heard a scoop up to the top note, like I was playing a C, and then I wanted to play a C an octave above that, but I wanted it to slowly, like as if it's a gliss, or portamento in synth terms. You do that with velocity. So if I just sort of do it a lighter velocity, like I'm playing the C note, and then I'll play the other octave above it, maybe at a 25 or 30, it'll be a pretty long scoop up to the top note. And then you can go in after the fact and change the velocity of any note. So often I'll get a scoop like that, or a gliss up that I don't quite think is perfect, and I'll go in and just change the velocity of the note on top so that it gives me a little less of a scoop. So you can really design it, but it's tough. I'm not saying it's tough. It's easily done, but you have to practice doing those things. And if you don't quite get it right on the performance, go back and fix it after the fact. I mean, editing MIDI data is something that we all do every day. So, for us to expect that anything's going to be perfect with so many elements that we're trying to control, it's great that we can go in after the fact and customize it and make it perfect. Like if you were going to copy a part, like if you did a violin part and you wanted to have two violins playing the same thing, but you have that expression and vibrato data, you can erase it. And you can just take a pass on the second violin. The notes are already there, but you can go in and change the expression and change the vibrato with either a breath controller or your modulation wheel and expression pedal. So everything is customizable. Just from my workflow standpoint, I don't try to do too many things at once because I really would like to get a good performance of what it is I'm trying to play. And I'd like it to work well with the track. And then if I have to go in and tweak, I mean, is there anybody in this scenario here that doesn't tweak? I mean, we're all tweakers. That's what we do.
We're going to wrap this up now. And I want to, sincerely thank Jon, Ben, for being there with him. Lele, Simone, Mark and Daniel from ILIO are also watching in the audience. Say hi to them there. Say hi to Robin, the founder and CTO of Sessionwire as well. It's been absolutely amazing. This is really fun, you guys.